The role of the teacher in an early childhood classroom has five main parts. I'm going to talk about each of those parts just briefly. The first part is to create a caring community of learners, as we see at the top. And it's just important that we know that children need to feel comfortable in their learning community. They have to feel important. They have to feel respected. They have to feel that their family matters. And they have to feel that they can be themselves and their peers around them will respect them. We want the children to have a warm, positive relationship with the caregivers and the teachers in these environments. And we want children to understand that the teachers and the students can learn from each other and that they each have something to give each other. Next, we move to teaching as a way to enhance learning and development. And we know that the role of a teacher obviously is to teach, but the job is more than just teaching. It's planning. We want to plan learning experiences and learning environments that match those developmental needs of each of our individual learners. We have to use a variety of strategies when we teach so we can reach each of our learners. What works for one child will not work for another. I know my middle daughter is extremely literal and not in the classroom as much, but she's a gymnast. And when she would try to get a skill, her coaches would tell her over and over the same way to try again. And I realized that sometimes she needs someone else to tell her a different way to do the same thing, or maybe to show her instead of tell her. And the results are immediate. We've had this happen many times with skills for her. Immediate results to learning when the learning is presented in a different way. And teachers have to have that variety in their back pocket that they can say, you're not getting this. I'm going to try something different. And that flexibility to change on the spot to meet your learner's needs is important. And the last part of this teaching point of our star is we have to give learning in a variety of contexts. And that means we want to have time during the day where the teacher guides a large group. We need to have small group activities. We need to have individual time with each child. And also, we need periods that are play and free, and we need periods of structure. And balancing teacher-directed learning and child-initiated learning are very important to achieving learning goals in the classroom and for students to find success and grow as learners. Now, our third point in the star is the planning of curriculum to achieve important goals in the classroom. And curriculum is the written plan that describes the knowledge and skills that the program will give a child. Sometimes the curriculum is determined by the teacher, but many times it has been developed by someone other than the teacher. If you're working in a public school, your curriculum is given to you by your school district, and that has actually been shaped by the state that you teach in. If you're in a preschool program or a Head Start program or a daycare program, the centers probably have a specific curriculum that's been guided by some sort of state standards or some sort of group of teachers that has come together and deemed the curriculum goals already. We know that curriculum is important because it's built off research-based strategies and looks at the norm for age levels of what they are capable of doing. And that means it's been proven effective for the age of learners that the curriculum was developed for. But the teacher's role in curriculum is to look at the curriculum they're given and plan it out on a timeline of when each child in the classroom needs to meet those goals. We have to make adaptations to that curriculum, which doesn't mean we don't do what's in the curriculum, but it means we have to support it or create a timeline that allows success based on the needs and strengths and interests of our students. An example of this would be going into a situation where the curriculum is all the children will write a sentence. Well, guess what? If your children enter and they don't know the letters of the alphabet yet, or the sounds the letters make, you can't jump right in and work on sentence writing. And so even though the curriculum says we're going to write sentences, you as the teacher have to figure out, how do I get to that part of the curriculum? What do I have to do first? Or maybe this has happened. I know I worked with a group of kindergartners, and then I looped as their first grade teacher. And this group came into my kindergarten. There were 8 boys and girls, and well, there were more than 8 boys and girls, but the population within our classroom, there were 8 very high achieving learners. And on the first week of kindergarten, I started observing that they were way beyond the curriculum goals for this class, for kindergarten. And so I knew that I couldn't just teach the curriculum that was written for them because they already had learned those goals. So I had to plan curriculum that met the first grade goals for them, and I had to make some adaptations for them. When I looped with them the first grade, we continued on to second grade goals. And so learning has to be specific to each child, but also revolve around the curriculum. And you have to find that balance as the role of the teacher. Our fourth area is to assess learning and development. And assessment is what is going to drive your instruction. Now, some people think of assessment and they think of tests, and assessing is not tests when you're working with young learners. Assessment is observation of them completing authentic tasks. And these tasks are going to show that they're learning. So if we want to know if they learned their alphabet, we ask them to say the names of the letters. We ask them to see if they know the sounds of the letters, and we'll work with them one-on-one or in small groups, and we'll write down notes. We call these anecdotal notes. And we need to do assessment all the time, because what we find with young learners is their assessment, their skills are often very changing. If you look at a young child, what they can do one day, or what they can't do one day, they might be able to do the next. I know my little one, she's 6, and she was supposed to memorize a 3-sentence quote for school today. Well, 2 days ago, she could not say this quote at all. And I thought, wow, how are we going to get to this end product of knowing the whole quote? And within a day, she learned it. Okay, we worked with her, we broke it down, she learned it. So if I would just look at her and say, oh, she doesn't have it, and in a day later she does, I would make assumptions that maybe she wasn't learning. The same thing is true with our young kiddos. Think of babies, how quickly from one day to the next they change in what they're capable of doing. They go from not being able to move to holding their head up, to rolling over, to sitting up. I know my my middle daughter, she learned very early. I think she had turned 4 months old. I guess it was maybe the end of 4 months. She learned to sit up, and I thought, this is great, because I had a little one already at home. But when she can sit up, then I can put the toys on the floor and she can stay there and I can get something done. And within 2 weeks of learning to sit up, she learned to crawl, which was a disaster because she was everywhere. But we see these changes in young children so quickly, and it's our job as the teacher to continually assess them. And we want to have multiple sources of assessment. We want to see them do things in a variety of ways, even if it's the same skill. And we want to also make sure we're giving them lots of learning contexts, because maybe they can't do something outside, but if you take it inside and change their surroundings, they can do it. Or maybe they can't read words in a book, but they might be able to read the words in isolation in a list. Just giving them multiple opportunities to showcase the same skills sometimes makes a difference for our young learners. Also, how comfortable they are with the person doing the assessment or the conditions they test in. My little one tested out of kindergarten. Her birthday's October, and she essentially went in and took an assessment, and they said, she can go on to first grade because she already knew the curriculum. But it didn't work out that easily. She's a very bright little girl, and I homeschooled her last year half a day because she missed the kindergarten cutoff and knew that she would be bored in kindergarten, basically. But what we found was, although she could do so many things for me. She could read so well. She could do all of her math things. She could write. All the things I knew she would have to do to be a first grader, she could do for me at home in a comfortable learning environment with a teacher that she trusted. Well, the day that we took her for this assessment at her kindergarten, she was scared to death, and she had to go into a room with a stranger and share these skills in a school that she'd never been in. And guess what? She didn't do well at all. And the principal actually called me and said, I'm really shocked at how poorly she did. She's definitely not ready to skip kindergarten. And I said, I'm very shocked at what she did too, but I don't think this was fair to her. And we gave her some time and didn't reassess right away. We waited a couple months, and in May we went in and we did it again. And she was a little more comfortable with the person who assessed her, and she had been in that school building before, and she still wasn't comfortable like she is with me. And it even took, with her first grade teacher, it took a couple months in for her to feel comfortable and actually for them to get a clear assessment of what she really knew. But we have to factor in all of these components when we are assessing learning with young learners, because their comfort and their trust really make a difference on the outcome that you'll get. So all these components are important as the role of the teacher. When we're building what we need to teach them, we have to know what they already know, and that has to be accurate. The last component of the role of the teacher is to build reciprocal relationships with families. And reciprocal relationships are a two-way relationship where information and power is shared evenly. Also, a reciprocal relationship is one built on trust, respect, cooperation, and shared responsibilities. What this means is you as the teacher have to reach out to these families, and you have to get them to open up to you and know that you are there for the best interest of their child and that you are a team. This does not happen overnight. You think with any relationship, you don't become best friends overnight. With our families, we want to be welcoming. We want them to trust you. You are taking in their most precious gift, their child, and we want them to know that you want to be that parent in essence when they aren't there every day. And they also have to open up to you and be honest, and really you work together as a team. When teachers act like they know more than a parent, even if they might know more about child development and teaching, when they act like they know more or they're an expert on a child, it breaks down this relationship, because no parent wants someone telling them they don't know their child. Because guess what? The parent knows the child better than you do. You might know how to teach the child better, but the parent knows the child. And sometimes that is so much more powerful than the teaching side of it. And so together, you need to have that mutual respect where you are going to bond together and move forward as a team. And I see that from both sides, because I am a teacher and I am a parent. And the times when I've had the best relationships with my children's teachers are the ones where they have reached out to me and they've listened to what I had to say. Every one of my children have had moments in their educational careers where I knew something about the way they learn or about their personality that was a huge benefit to a teacher trying to work with them. It was that piece of the puzzle where they couldn't figure out what was going on with my child in the classroom, but my knowledge of my child, not teaching my child, but my child, was that piece that made it all come together. And then they could move forward and meet my child's needs. So that reciprocal relationship is important. And culturally, there's a lot of families that don't feel comfortable connecting with schools. Maybe they had a bad experience when they were in school, or maybe culturally their how they were raised is the teacher teaches and the parent's parent. We see when they don't understand that it is a team approach, then you have this breakdown. And so it's your job as the teacher to be the builder. You are the person reaching out to them and not the other way around. So you can see it's a big job. That role of the teacher is not just go in, stand up, teach, go home. It's nothing like that. It is all this planning, short-term and long-term, to make the best instructional decisions and the best personal decisions for the families and the students in your classroom.